I think it's so groovy now. People are finally getting together. Think it's wonderful how people are finally getting together. Reach out in the darkness. Reach out in the darkness. Reach out in the darkness. And you may find a friend. Yeah, reach out in the darkness. You may indeed find a friend. That's an oldie but a goodie. Great tune. I think it's so groovy now. People are finally getting together. And this is a very appropriate song before the holiday of Shavuot, which is coming up. A lot of people don't really even know about this holiday. You know, people know about Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, even starting to know a little bit more about Sukkot. But Shavuot, they're like, what the heck is Shavuot? It happens to be a seriously important one because without Shavuot, we ain't got all the other stuff. Shavuot celebrates the Kabbalah Torah, receiving the Torah on Mount Sinai, which was quite the experience. Talk about a multi-sensory experience. It says there was lightning and there was smoke and we were able to see what we normally hear and hear what we normally see. And so it was very dramatic. But I wanted to speak actually, just for a moment or two, about the idea of Midbar Sinai, which literally translates as the Sinai Desert. But a very curious thing about the word Midbar, that is, can anybody guess out there? You take those letters, Mem, Dalet, Beis, Resh, Midbar in Hebrew, and there's no vowels in punctuation in the Torah. You could also read it as Medaber. It's probably one of the most common words in all of the Torah. Medaber, Vayedaber, Hashem, Moshe Lemor. Hashem speaks to Moshe, saying, Vayedaber, Vayedaber, Midaber, right? Which means speaking. But it's the exact same letters as Midbar. It's just the punctuation. The vowels are a little different. And so Midbar translates as desert, not dessert, by the way. Remember, dessert has two S's because you always want more, right? And desert only has one. So I remember learning that like in grammar school, I don't know, like second grade or something. But those two words have an amazing connection. Come on, the exact same spelling, Midbar and Medaber. So I think it shows the importance of speech and how it has an amazing lesson for us and what the effects our speech can have. And I remember hearing this great story of somebody who came to a Rebbe, a great leader, his rabbi, and he said, Rebbe, I've been speaking Lashon Hara. I've been speaking really bad about people and saying nasty things and everything. And I feel bad and I want to make amends for what I've done. What should I do? So the rabbi told him, just bring me a feather pillow. So he brings him a feather pillow. He says, good. Now I want you to cut it open and just cast the feathers all over the street, wherever you're walking, feathers all over. And the guy's like, okay, that's easy enough. Sounds good to me. He does it. Comes back to the Rebbe, says, okay, Rebbe, I did that. So am I good now? Am I good to go? So his rabbi says to him, the Rebbe tells him, no, now I want you to go and collect all the feathers. And he tells the rabbi, with all due respect, that's impossible. I don't know where they've gone. I don't know how am I supposed to get all of them? So the Rebbe said, well, it's the same thing with Lashon Hara, with negative talk. You don't know eventually where it ends up and who's going to hear it. It goes to a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend, and you just never know. And so it can go all over the place, have repercussions all over the place. And Maimonides, the great Rambam, he says that speaking negatively about somebody actually kills three people. It kills the one who's saying it kills the one who's listening, and it kills the one that you're talking about. And on the other hand, we see that if somebody speaks positive about somebody, like no there's nothing negative. You're not speaking gossip, and you're not trying to dig up dirt on somebody. The Rambam says even if you start to speak praises of somebody, if you know that that person there doesn't like this individual, so you really, it's just like an opener. You want to say it, so this guy is gonna, oh yeah, okay, right. He made a beautiful cup, but you should see this guy, what he does, and blah blah blah, and all the blah 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 stuff comes out. And so if we think that if we have the ability through our speech to create a midbar. What's a midbar? A desert, a place of desolation. And we can, through our negative speech, I think this is one of the lessons that this connection is teaching us. That one of the connections is that we can create a hostile environment and a lonely one. You know, a lot of times you meet somebody who likes to talk gossip all the time and talk negatively, and seems to be miserable and just spread the misery. You avoid that person, and after a while, pretty soon everybody is avoiding this person, and the person is by themselves, which is sort of a desolate desert in a way that this person has created through his or her own doing, his or her own words. So we have the ability through our speech. And what's interesting is that the numerical equivalent of the word medaber and midbar, because they're both really the same letters, is 246. And that also equals Amra, Aleph Mem Resh Hey, which is also 246. Okay? So the Torah has several different Hebrew words to express certain concepts. There's 4 different ways to say even just a person, right? Just the idea of man. Adam, Ish, Enosh, Gever, 4 different levels. There's all these different ways to write the name of Hashem, of God's name in the Torah, but the English is always just saying God. And God said this, God did this, blah, blah, blah. But is it Elohim? Is it Yud Ke Vav Ke? Is it Shin Daled Yud? Is it, anyhow, there's so many different ways that the Torah expresses itself. So there is a difference between Medaber, Dibor, and Emor. Okay, what is that? The Dibor tends to be a very direct, straightforward approach in speaking, and Amira is more of a softer, gentler approach. But they both have the same numerical equivalent, Medaber and Amra, both 246. And it's also very interesting, I think, if we tighten this up, it reminds me, there's another individual who went to his rabbi. Hey, these rabbis can be mighty clever, right? He went to his rabbi, and he was known to be exceptionally good in keeping the laws of kosher. And the rabbi said to him, you're not keeping kashrut, you're not keeping the laws of kosher properly. And he tells him, no, he says, Rabbi, I'm like number one. I'm like so careful about everything. I'm careful about this, X, Y, Z. I've learned all the different sources about it, read so many different books. I'm extremely careful. And the rabbi says, no, I'm sorry. You're not keeping kosher. You're not doing it. And he says, what do you mean? What do you mean? So the rabbi tells him, you're careful what goes into your mouth, but are you careful what comes out of your mouth? That's beauty. That's wisdom. So we can keep kosher what's coming in, but are we also careful that it's kosher what comes out? Right? So if we can be, I think that leads us to Vizu Bracha. This would be the greatest blessing, which is also the numerical equivalent of 246. Okay? That's a very high level. It's not an easy thing to do, but we can do it. And, by the way, we all came there as one. We all got together. We all got together. We were like one united people before receiving the Torah. So if you're thinking bad, talking bad about somebody else, and you're like, oh, I'm going to shul, I'm going early, I'm going to get the Torah, baby, it's all for me. But the Torah talks about achdus, about unity, and about treating your fellow human beings with respect and dignity, and not talking ill of them, not talking bad. So can you imagine if talking negatively kills 3 people, talking positively brings life to 3 people? You create out of this desert this beautiful garden. All right? I think it's so groovy now. People are finally getting together. Think it's wonderful now. People People are finally getting together, think it's so groovy now. People are finally getting together, think it's wonderful now. People are finally getting together. Reach out in the darkness. Reach out in the darkness. Reach out in the darkness, and you may find a friend. Anyhow, I always love that word groovy. I don't know why we did away with that word, but I say let's bring that word back. That's a good positive word. So everybody, hope you're all feeling groovy, and I wish you all a wonderful rest of the week. For those of you who are my Jewish friends, keeping Shavuot, and wish you a happy Shavuot holiday. It always says we should receive the Torah in an inner way, Kabbalah Torah, b'simcha u'b'panimius, in an inner way and with great joy. And we do that by talking nicely, watching what comes out of the mouth. Keep that kosher too. All right? And to all of my other friends out there, let's bring some unity to the planet, some peace and loving kindness and joy. We got to just reach out in the darkness, okay? Bring some light into that darkness. And we're going to make a lot of friends. Peace out, everybody.